Peace and blessings, family, and welcome back to another episode of Heal with Angelica Watters podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And on today's episode, I have a guest joining me today, Mr. Kaderick Jones, life coach, as we'll be discussing today's topic, 3 dimensions of purpose. Mr. Jones, I am so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm honored to be on your show, Angelica. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Praise be to Allah, brother. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, before we get started, do you mind letting our audience know just a little more about you?
Yeah, I am a retired pastor, and I'm also a life coach. Been a life coach for 14 years now, and then I also am a corporate trainer. And so I've been doing corporate training for about 15 years. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm married to my beautiful Godiva chocolate wife, Debra Michelle. We have 3 sons, Khristian, Khistopher, and Khyron, and they're all adults now. And so we are excited about, again, being here with you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love it. Thank you again. Now, let's get started on this powerful topic, 3 dimensions of purpose. Now, let's just define what is purpose. Purpose consists of the central motivating aim of your life. For example, like the reason you get up in the morning. Purpose can guide life decisions, influence behavior, shape goals, offer a sense of direction, and create meaning. So that brings me to my first question for you, Mr. Jones. Please explain what the 3 dimensions of purpose is.
Yeah, so when you look at purpose, and I love the definition that you gave, and there's another part of that. It's the reason for which something was created,
Mm,
and the reason that it was created to do or be, right? And so if you because we're called human beings, not human doings, right? So it's the
mm,
being that comes first. So if you look at, what we're called to be, and I believe that everyone has, first of all, a general purpose, right?
mm,
The prophet Micah, he said, I've told you, old man, what is good to do righteous or do justice, to walk humbly before your God, and to love mercy, to be merciful unto people. So those are the general things to do justice, to make sure that we are making sure that justice is being served on behalf of others who can't speak for themselves, right?
mm.
And to love mercy, meaning that we're to walk in mercy towards others when they trip, when they fall, and to be able to assist them, to help them get up, and then to walk humbly before God. So that's your general purpose. That's everyone's purpose, to serve mankind and to honor their God, right? But then you have the second dimension, which is seasonal purpose,
Mm.
right? The Kohelet in Ecclesiastes, he makes a statement. He says, "For everything there is a purpose." Right? For everything created under heaven, there is a purpose, right? And a time and a season for everything. And so we have to make sure that we are understanding the seasons that we're in, because
Mm.
there are various seasons that we go through in life, various vicissitudes that we go through in life, and those seasons may be comfortable, they may be uncomfortable. For instance, right now, my wife, her mother just passed away, and so in this season, I'm called to comfort my wife. I'm called to help her navigate through this season of her life. And so in the last season of my wife's life, she was her mother's caregiver, right?
Mm.
And so
Mm.
so now that season is shifting, we have to figure out, okay, what does this next season look like? So that you have seasonal purpose. But I also believe that for every individual created under heaven, there is a particular purpose and a specific purpose that God has created them for.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubts about it. I believe that there's a specific purpose. And I think that many times people feel hopeless to even find out what their purpose is, or people don't even know which way to go in order to determine what their purpose is. But I believe that everyone has a specific purpose. So you have the general purpose, which is to serve mankind and honor your God. The seasonal purpose, which shifts with the various vicissitudes of life. But there's one thing that does not shift, and that is your specific purpose, the reason why you were created in the first place.
Wow. I love how you put that together. Wow. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. Thank you so much for that. Now, um, you mentioned the last purpose of our I want to say our God-given purpose, our initial purpose. Why is it hard, or why do you believe that it's hard for someone, or just anyone in general, to find their true life purpose?
Yeah. So I believe there are two things that we need to consider. The first thing is trauma, that stems from our childhood. So there are different things that happen throughout our formative years
Mm.
that, and your last two guests talked about it perfectly. Things that happen during our formative years that hinder us. They begin to form us. David says, "I was shapen in iniquity and sin, and did my mother conceive me?" In other words, there were some things that happened while I was in the womb, and there were
Mm.
some things that happened when I came into the world that began to bend me and shape me. And it's like a plumber or a jackleg plumber who goes in and manipulates the pipes, right? So that a person can flow in a direction that they were not intended to flow, right?
Mm.
And so if they're flowing in the opposite direction than that what they were created to flow in, then there's confusion. So I think the first thing there's trauma that sometimes happens from the womb, sometimes happens as I'm growing and developing.
Mm-hmm.
And the other
Exactly.
thing I think there is that even if my trauma is not great, sometimes it's the comparison game,
Okay.
right? If I'm comparing myself to somebody else, or if I'm always saying I want to be like them or I want to be like them, it's like a fog. I shared it on another podcast earlier, well, over the weekend. It's like a fog
Yeah.
that clouds our judgment, clouds our reality, clouds who we really were created to be. So when you think about fog, right? Uh, if you're driving a vehicle, most people think that maybe I can turn my brights on and I can navigate through this fog. But really, what happens when you're driving through fog, the fog lights, they don't just point straight out and do high beams, they point up. The reason they
Mm.
point up is because they have to go up in a direction to be able to give you an advanced notification of what's coming ahead, and you can see through the fog a lot clearer. And many people, instead of trying to navigate through this fog of comparison of what other people are doing or how people are functioning, we're looking around, but we should really be looking up to the person who created us. And so, because when we look to our creator to determine our purpose, then we can figure things out a lot clearer, right? It's just like, you have a phone or you have a camera or you have a computer. If you can't figure out what's going on from all of the troubleshooting, generally you're going to call back to the manufacturer to
Mm-hmm.
find out what's going on. It's the same thing with purpose. If I don't know what my purpose is, I need to go back to the manufacturer, the person who created me, and begin to ask them, what did you put me here for?
Oh, you said it right there.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I can definitely understand that so much. I believe that once I was able to get reconnected back to God, I seen life so different. I felt like I was so disconnected for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I felt reborn,
Yeah.
being reconnected. again, and
Yeah.
then being able to actually do the things that I love and do the
Yeah.
things that I believe that God called me in for. So that was a beautiful analogy. I love that. I love how you put the fire on me. Yes,
Glory be to
yes,
God.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So now, how can one stay motivated in their purpose?
How can you stay motivated in your purpose? That's a
Mm,
very good question, Angelica. Because many times, even if I am looking up, talking to my creator, even if I am getting healed from my trauma, it becomes a process. I have to become intentional
mm,
in maintaining my purpose. It's what in one of my coaching programs. It's the principle of tenacity, right? So I have to first of all become excellent. And to be excellent means that I become superior, and so superiority, I can't be superior uh, over anyone else doing anything but being me, right?
mm-hmm,
That's the only thing I can be superior over anyone else in, because no one can beat me being me, right?
mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to be me, then I have to begin to remove all of the layers of my life and get back to that blank slate. And so one of the things that I tell people to do when if they go through my coaching program, one thing I tell people to do is I tell them to think about yourself and imagine yourself that if your parents were never your parents, if you didn't have the failures that you had or the successes that you had, if you didn't have the assets that you had, if you didn't have the family that you had, if you didn't have the job that you had, if nothing else existed but you right now, what would that person look like? And it's hard for people to do that, and that's why you have to be tenacious in removing all of those things so you can begin to look at the person that remains after everything else is gone. Even if my children were not my children, if nothing else existed but me and God right now, what would I see?
Oh, I would think think you'll see yourself, a reflection of yourself.
Yeah, you would see yourself. You would see the unadulterated, pure version of yourself.
Yes.
And you have to start from there and begin to build. Because most of the time, if I ask a person, "Who are you?" most of the time they'll begin to say what they do for a living. They'll begin to say who their mother is, who their father is. They'll begin to say who their spouse is. They begin to say, "I'm the mother of this child," or "This is what my degree is." And but none of that has anything to do with who we are. Those
Mm,
things help facilitate who we are and
right.
who we have become. But if those things never existed, and God did me like He did Adam, or God did you like He did Eve, what is at the core of who we are? And that's where we have to start.
Wow, I love that. So being able to start at the core is, I believe, you being able to know yourself, know thyself.
Yes,
And within knowing thyself, that's getting reconnected back to your creator.
yes, yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
we're created in the image and likeness of God. And when
Exactly.
Moses asks, "Okay, who do I say sent me?" He says, "Say that I am sent you." And so we have to get back to our I amness. Who am I? Right? Who am I at the core? And begin to affirm who that is. Because if we can't affirm who we are, we can't expect anyone else to do it. We can't wait on anybody else to affirm us. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "We believe, therefore we speak," right? And so I'm going to say what I am. And nobody's going to determine or dictate to me what I was created to be or who I'm created to function as, but God and myself. And if I allow other people to do that, then I allow them to form or create a a false idolatrous copy of who I am.
Ooh, yes, exactly, exactly. So I feel like that kind of like when you explain the just the idea of what if you wasn't what if your parents wasn't around and it was just you and God, like that'll be the only thing that you will be able to look at and be able to kind of form some type of belief just
Mhm.
from that in your purpose. Now, I'm young and being young, a lot of us we don't really talk about God and we don't talk about our creator.
Mhm.
And I see that, a lot of times that we have a lot of young people that are you know, dealing with depression and anxiety. Now, within that, how does how does one learn how to get reconnected back to their creator?
That's a very good question. I remember when I was, on my journey, on my wild journey, right? When I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I had all of these things going on in my life. I was an alcoholic. I was a porn addict. I was addicted to sex, and I objectified women, right? And so I got to the place to where I knew there was something not right. And everyone gets to this place because we were created with, I believe, a God gene, right?
Yes.
We were created with this God gene and this hole that says something has to fill this,
Mm.
right? And I was making good money. I had plenty of money in my bank account. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was good with people. People knew me, but there was something missing.
Mm.
And so the only thing I knew how to do is really call out and say, God, if you're real, show yourself to me. Right? I didn't, even though I grew up believing in Jesus Christ, or grew up in church rather,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't call him by a name. I didn't do any of that. I just said, God, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. And I can remember specifically being in a place to where I was on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, serving in the Navy, and I was out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and you know, uh, most melanated people don't know how to swim, especially if you're from the South, and so I was ready to end it all. And so I said, God, this is too much.
Yeah.
The pain from my childhood, having been molested as a child, having come from a broken home, having
Yeah.
grown up in poverty, and all of these things going on in me, and I'm just at a place of breaking, and I didn't know how to deal with the internal emotional pain, and so I said, God, this is too much. I'm ready to end it all. And if you're not going to reveal yourself to me, then I'm done. And so I got ready to jump off the ship, and the ship took a turn, flipped back over, threw me up against the side of the ship, and then God began to reveal Himself to me through the I went through, and I
Ooh.
didn't go through the process to where anybody catechized me and told me about the Bible. I didn't go through anything to where anybody told me what to believe. It was a place where God found me, began to instruct me, and tell me who I was, begin to tell me what I was created to do, and begin to walk me through a journey.
Yes.
And people have to begin to appreciate the journey.
Yeah.
And you don't get messed up about the journey. You don't get messed up wondering, okay, what if this or what if that? No, just appreciate the journey, because he's going to always lead you. He said, you know, if you call on the Lord, you're going to be rescued. You're going to be brought out, right?
Mm.
And so I began worship God and honor God and serve Him. My personal faith is and belief is in Jesus Christ, because when I was at my lowest, nobody came to rescue me. Nobody
Yes.
even knew I was in my dark place, and then when He came, He found me. He wasn't a blonde haired, blue eyed Jesus either, right?
let's let that be known.
Right. He wasn't a blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus. But he was a real being, a real spiritual being that came
Mm.
to me and found me and began to talk to me about my identity, right? And told me who I was. And that's where I believe you have to get to the place to where you really want to know who God is for yourself.
Ooh,
Nobody else can want it for you, right?
exactly.
And sometimes there are some instances where we don't necessarily want to take the risk, and God just comes in, takes our hand, and He say, okay, let me just walk you through this process,
Yes.
you know
Yes.
and we appreciate the journey.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow, wow. I can definitely relate to that so much. I was, when I was dealing with my pregnancy, I think that was a time in my life where I called out to God the most.
Mm,
It was a time where I thought I wasn't going to make it, and it was just one time I was just like, God, just help me get through this. The stuff I was going through, I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. And I didn't have anyone to talk to. So I definitely believe that when someone is at their end mark and you call on him, he will show himself. He
yeah,
showed himself to me. And like ever since that, all I want to do is be righteous, because that's like you said, that it's in our DNA to be
right,
righteous. So you were saying how you felt something was off. You had this going on, and it was good, but it was something just wasn't right.
yeah,
And I feel like there always will be a imbalance when you're disconnected to your creator, disconnected to
yeah,
God. So, oh my God, that was
yeah,
beautiful. And I'm so glad he kept you here, because you
yeah,
you got a purpose.
right,
Okay. And we
right,
all have a purpose.
yeah. And
So
I
that was
realized that my purpose is to help other people understand what their purpose is.
mm,
And that didn't become clear until years later. uh,
yeah.
and when I found that out, that happened in just the strangest way. I just felt God telling me to bring 9 people into my home, 9 young adults into my home, and just walk them through a process. At that time, I thought it was mentoring, but walk them through a process. And at the end of that process, every last one of them knew what their purpose was.
Ooh.
Every last one of them began to walk in that purpose. Every last one of
Mm-hmm.
them began to be sick. And I said, "Now, God, is this real? Am I pretending this or imagining this?" And then I did the process again, and I've duplicated the process over and over again for the last 14 years. And so I know that my purpose, is to really help people find out what their purpose is,
Yes.
and break free from this rat race that we're in,
Mm-hmm.
trying to be like this and that, and the first this and the first that, but just really being who we were created to be without apology.
Ooh, unapologetic. Yes. Yes, I love that. Like
Yeah,
being I believe that we're all here, honestly, to be an assistant to God, to get his people back reconnected to him.
yeah,
So with you going through what you went through, and sometimes it takes us to go through heavy stuff in order to wake us up and get us reconnected. And that just makes me think about like how sometimes the things that we go through, he doesn't put us through anything that he doesn't believe that we can bear,
Mhm.
but he knows why he's doing this to you. So like you said earlier, just trust the process, and you trust that process, and you were able to you probably done help thousands now. You've been doing this for
Yeah,
14 years. So
yeah, yeah.
yes, that's beautiful. Like um I listened to a lecture, and they were stating how saving one person's life is like saving millions. So we think saving life is just like a physical thing. No, just your story,
Right,
Mr. Jones, just
right.
you just going through what you went through, and then sharing your knowledge of what you went through and how you got through it.
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
Yes, I
You
love
know,
it.
one of my mentors, Alfonso Montgomery, he he makes the statement all the time. He says some lessons other people shouldn't have to buy. They shouldn't have to pay for. You should be able to let them borrow your lesson so they won't have to pay the price. And I believe that this is one thing that I think we as Black people in America should do better,
Yes,
because often we get out of straits, we get out of poverty, we get out of that lost state, we get out of ignorance, right?
yes,
And so we get to the place to where we feel liberty, but we forget that we're not l- liberated or redeemed just for the sake of being liberated or redeemed. We're liberated so that we can go back and get other people so that they don't have to fight as hard as we had to fight.
exactly.
They don't have to go through as much as we had to go through. We have to begin to facilitate other people into a place to where they can receive freedom. Our entire history teaches us that you don't just get out and just leave other people in.
Okay.
If you get out, you go back and rescue other people.
Yes.
And so that's why I use my testimony, I use my platform to make sure that I'm not being so selfish and self-righteous that I forget that there are other people who are struggling just like I was. And if I ever forget, and that's why I always tell my story, because if I ever forget my story, it's easy for me to look at other people and say, well, why you not doing it? Why you can't do this? Why you can't do that? But if I remember my story, I'm going to always watch this, be merciful unto others,
Ooh.
because God showed me mercy.
Yes.
Jacked up, messed up state.
Ooh. I love it. I love it. Being able just to be merciful because God was merciful to you, and we need it. We
Yeah,
need it. Our people need that mercy. I'm glad you brought that up because even with me being in this new state of mind, and you know having God at the forefront of my life, and looking at just some of my peers, I always go back to that was me. I didn't want to listen. So
mhm,
that makes me not, how what would that word be? Selfish. It makes me not be selfish. It makes me not think um too highly of myself.
right,
Humble myself a little bit because I was
right,
there too. I was
right.
there. Yes. I love it. I love it. And if you all are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, please show your support by donating today for more free and powerful content just like this. More info to donate will be listed in today's show notes. Now let's get back to today's episode, Three Dimensions of Purpose. Now, Mr. Jones, I wanted to know, can knowing your purpose in life actually help you aid in your healing journey that you're on? And I want to say that in regards to If you're going through any mental, physical, or health issue.
Yeah, I believe that it can very much so, because once you know your purpose, um, you want to protect that, right?
Ooh.
Once you see that person that you were really created to be, you want to care for that person, right? And once you know that, and you have that sense of caring, then you have to begin to put things in place to care for that person. And
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that looks like going to therapy,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes that looks like changing your habits, your behaviors, eating healthier. Sometimes it looks like not putting certain things in your body because you know what it's doing to your body. Sometimes it looks like getting knowledge and understanding, right? Because you're caring for yourself. Because here is the thing that we do most of the time, is that we will begin to have this self discovery and self understanding. But then you can be guaranteed that when you get to that place and you begin to operate in that place, you have certain people and certain things and certain even hidden agendas that are coming to try to throw you off track. And you can be guaranteed that that's going to be the case. But you have to learn how to set boundaries, for what I call energy stealers, because there are things that will come to try to steal all of the energy and the life that you have, to where you don't you start giving from a depleted place. But if
Ooh.
I don't learn how to take time to put stuff in to heal me, to get healed, right? Because if I'm fighting from a wounded place and I have unseen enemies who see me not caring for myself, they're going to come and find my vulnerabilities and take advantage of my vulnerabilities, right? And so I can't allow that to happen. When I understand my purpose, I'm going to do everything I can to protect that person that I see,
Yes.
while at the same time having in mind that once I get healed, I have some people I have to go back to reach. And so
Yes.
I care for myself and care for my purpose so that I can make sure that I'm healed and whole so I can go back and get others.
Ooh. That's like filling your cup. Make sure
Yeah,
your cup is full.
right.
Make sure, ooh, yes, 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 you said that there. Oh my gosh. Just being, you, having to keep yourself and protecting your energy. Because, like you said, there are people that can deplete your energy only because they don't even know their self. So
Yes.
when you're in a and then like you said, once your field, that's when it's your, like you said, go back and get your people and help
Yeah.
them fill their cup. Ooh, yes, Mr. Jones, I love it so much. Now I do have one more question before we end today's show.
Sure.
I would love to know, what advice do you have for anyone who is struggling to find their purpose?
The and I'll go back to this thing. Give you a little exercise to do. That is, get yourself in a place to, I mean, a quiet place, um, you know, to where you're in a place of solitude,
Mm.
and close your eyes. And while you're closing your eyes, begin to pull back all the layers. Remove, um, because we try to identify ourselves by people, things, experiences, environments. But get yourself in a place of solitude, close your eyes, and begin to remove all of the layers: who your parents are, who your siblings are, where you grew up. Remove all of those things from around you. And then picture that person. And many times, not and even remove all of your, forget all your failures and successes, and look at that person And when you get to look at that person, you will become so excited about what you see.
Ooh.
And I would encourage you to take time to write down 3 to 5 attributes that you notice about that person that you see. And after you write down those 3 to 5 attributes, then begin to say, okay, God, what do I do with this?
Ooh. I'm definitely doing that exercise.
Yeah.
I was actually about to do it now while you were saying it. I said, let me get to a more solitude ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful, Mr. Jones. I just want to thank you again for joining me today and discussing this well needed topic, 3 dimensions of purpose. I would also like to give a special thank you to my amazing audience in Healing Tribe for joining us today. I pray today's episode was informative and valuable to you all. Also, be sure to give us your feedback, share and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming episode on your favorite podcast station and or on my YouTube channel, Heal with Angelica Watters podcast, to get the message out to those in need of healing. Also, if you are ready to start your healing journey, please join me in a one-on-one in my 12-week intense Heal Yourself coaching program, centered around you taking your power back, embracing the healing powers that is already inside of you. Link is in the description to sign up, as well as my new release ebook, Heal Yourself. I will also leave information in the description so you guys can all get in contact with today's guest, Mr. Kaderick Jones. Kaderick. Before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for today's audience?
I just want to say again, thank you, Angelica, for inviting me on the show, and I encourage everyone to continue to follow Angelica, and I believe that you're going to be someone who changes the lives of so many just by your testimony and just by you walking in your purpose and bringing this content to the world. And so, thank you all again for listening and bearing with me. And I hope that something was said or done that impacts your life in a major way.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones, for that. I love it. Thank you so much. Praise be to Allah God. And again, I want to thank my Healing Tribe for joining us today. And we'll leave you guys as we came. Peace and blessings.